I think I'm the odd one out here because I'm talking not about a chemical compound, but about a compound which is an inactivated Parapox virus. So for us, it's called 649. And so I'm jumping into the immunological problem in chronic hepatitis B. I think everybody knows that there are several, and where's the pointer? Which is?
One here, you can try. There you go.
Okay, so HBV disrupts a lot of these pathways. So the net effect, of course, is that there is no functional immune response, or the immune response at least is not leading to functional cure. So meaning the antigen priming in the beginning is kind of the root cause for that disease. What we are trying is to stimulate that innate immune response. So we are taking 649, which is a Parapox virus. So we inactivate it, and then we develop, or we try to develop for chronic hepatitis B. What we know is that we need the whole particle, or meaning the intact particle. Why is that? So what we can see is that if we have 649, and we, well, I can try. Yeah, that was, well, I try. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so 649 is taken up by antigen-presenting cells. These are murine dendritic cells, and you can see the particles nicely in the endosome. So, which indicates that phagocytosis is one of the mechanisms to take up that particle. It might be facilitated by opsonization because complement seems to be a role in that route of taking up. So what happens next is that the antigen-presenting cells, they upregulate certain activation markers, so CD83, CD80, CD86, HLA1, and HLA-DR, or MHC class 1, MHC class 2. Leading to maturation of these cells. So this is here human PBMCs. This is maturation of the dendritic cells. No, it's not PBMCs. It's dendritic cells immature, then maturing to the dendritic cell type. This has been shown in vitro, in humans, in mouse models, and also in canine models. And so this is in vitro, but this has also been shown in vivo, here in the mouse, that innate immunity cells, dendritic cells, and NK cells are stimulated. And also in the wild-type infection of that virus in sheep, you see that MH class 2 dendritic cells accumulate in the skin lesions. So 649 induces activation and maturation of the antigen-presenting cells. And you cannot only see that on a phenotype, but these cells also release cytokines. In this case, for example, the CD14 monocytes in the human system, they start to produce TNF-alpha. So the CD14 receptor seems to have a role in that, because if you block that, it leads to decreased TNF-alpha levels after stimulation. Also, in the murine system, PDCs and CDCs secrete interferons, and TNF-alpha and IL-12 was also shown to be induced. So there's a variety of several cytokines released after PPVO stimulation. I got the question from Adam last time, so is there a TLR involved? Actually, there's no conclusive answer to that. So this is data from humans system, or human cells, basically. It could be shown that neither TLR2, 3 or 4 or 7 are involved in these human cells. This has been confirmed in the mouse system. 2 and 4 are not involved. What had been shown is that TLR9, so this is the only green spot here, is involved in, doesn't work, I'm sorry. That's not nice. Okay, so the green one is TLR9 in the PDCs of mouse. On the other hand, in the same system, CDCs are not triggered by TLR9. So we have mechanisms which are TLR-dependent as well as TLR-independent mechanisms. In one paper, there's also the evidence for superantigen properties of that compound, so addressing cells by different mechanisms than TLRs. and that is not working as well. Well, okay. Then these cells do also, so 649 also induces a functional priming of these immune cells. So the activated cells undergo kind of an oxidative and respiratory burst, and they release reactive oxidant species. And what you can also see is that that phagocytosis is enhanced, and this is true for the conventional antigen-presenting cells as well as for non-professional antigen-presenting cells, which would be neutrophils. So then, having kind of initiated the whole cascade, what happens next is that T cells and NK cells are activated. So you clearly can see that here in, for example, for CD8 as well as for CD4 cells, 6 hours, 12 hours after stimulation, you see an increase in activation cell markers, so CD69, for example. And what the interaction of MHC class 2 as well with the CD3, CD4, TCR complex seems to be necessary for that stimulation. Well, what I showed you from the data is that we have activated antigen-presenting cells, activated T cells, and activated NK cells after IAPPBO stimulation, and also a whole array of cytokines which are released, so IL-6, IL-8, TNF-alpha, and I would like to keep you in mind it's also interferon gamma which is induced. And so we could show, or others as well, could show that is true in vitro as well as in vivo. It is not species specific. It's human, simian, murine, canine, porcine, ovine, equine. We have really a bunch of data on that. And what we could also see, it's timely regulated. So you have a physiological response first with a shift towards a Th1 response. So actually we induce a complete antiviral, well, it's not even only a cytokine cascade, it's a complete antiviral response because, I mean, it is a virus, right? Yeah. Does that count as well on my time? Okay. A summary for this. It is an inactivated Parapox virus. We see TLR-dependent as well as TLR-independent pathways triggered. We see maturation and proliferation of cells, and we see an array of cytokines released. So we have really a natural self-limited antiviral state induced. Why do I tell you all of that? So it's nice, but we also tried, of course, that against HBV. So we used the HBV transgenic mouse model. So this is viral load. If you use the placebo, you see that over time there's no change. If you use tenofovir, you have about 2.5 to 3 log difference. Tenofovir in this case was given twice daily, and we use 649 for treatment twice a week. And you see that the effect is comparable to tenofovir. I mean, the transgenic mouse model is not the best model maybe for the pathology of hepatitis B. So therefore, we turn to the woodchuck model. It's a little bit small maybe, but we had 4 dose groups, or 4 groups, sorry, not dose groups, 4 groups. One was placebo, one was 649 alone, then here we had entecavir alone, and we had the combination. If you look at that, so this is the placebo, and this is S, the woodchuck S antigen. There's no change. If you use entecavir alone, there's no change as well. If you use 649 alone, you see that in 2 of the 4 animals, S is going down. And if you combine the 2, 649 as well as entecavir, then you clearly can see that you have S loss in 3 of 5 animals and 1 intermediate here. So this is only the data for S, but we were also able to show development of anti-S antibodies in this group, in the combination group, as well as in the 649 alone group. And also only in these 2 groups, we were able to see cell-mediated immune response, CMI, as well as normalization of liver enzymes. So meaning it is a complete cascade which is initiated and completely going in the right direction. What also was good is that the treatment was well tolerated, so there was no problem with the woodchucks. So what we think is that 649 adds the immunological component to the new treatment to achieve functional cure in the system. Then we went to the clinics. We conducted a phase 1 study. Of course, that's only a single dose, but it was a randomized, multicenter, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Intravenous single ascending doses, 6 + 2 per dose, so 4 dose groups in total. 32 treatment-naive and treatment-experienced patients, HBV positive and negative, all genotypes, and most importantly, we are still in the follow-up, so we have 1-year data coming up as well. So we had safety, HBV parameters, as well as immunology parameters. I'm not going into details here, but there was no safety signal, so everything was safe, and we didn't even reach the maximum tolerated dose. Looking only at HBS, so up to 3 months of follow-up, there was not much to see. But what we could see is that, giving you an example, so this is interferon here coming up in the 4th dose group. So this is the placebo, it's quite flat, and this is the dose group 4. So to conclude that, we have single intravenous dose of 649 is safe and well tolerated. We had no fever, nothing, so that was all clean. We have no dose-limiting tox, no MTD, and we have evidence that a single dose of 649 stimulates the immunity in chronic hepatitis B patients. So, and of course, we're going on, so we will initiate a phase 2 trial, and we would like to present the data of this clinical trial on the EASL next year if the abstract is accepted. Thank you very much.